So the talking points start with a very serious point, and one that I know that both our guests, Kevin Philippart and Emma Berry, who are with us in the Luck on Sunday studio this week, both feel strongly about. It's online abuse. And Emma, there's a headline in the Racing Post today: Spiller speaks out after receiving death threats. Henry Spiller, the trainer, and his wife, and a jockey as well, Ray Dawson, receiving very unpleasant threats as a result of a horse getting beaten at Bath last week.
Yeah, really unpleasant stuff. Unfortunately, it's nothing new. And I don't see an end to it coming either. I mean, I really don't know how this can be stamped out, but it's appalling that trainers and jockeys, I think especially, have to face this kind of language. I mean, all trainers and jockeys want to do is win races. So when you have a beaten favourite, there's going to be no one crosser about it than the trainer and the jockey. Clearly, often this kind of abuse, I would imagine, comes from people who've lost money backing that horse. But they really do need to stop and think at the level of upset it causes. We've had a few to our website. To my husband, he trains John Berry, and he, I've actually decided to sort of take them up on it a little way, and I've bided my time and then replied the next day with an email outlining what goes into getting a horse there and how disappointed
Do you get a reply to your reply?
A couple of times I've had replies with apologies, which has been surprising but pleasing as well, but just asking the people that send these emails to think about what they're saying and the upset it causes. And
Kevin, it's not just to racing people, to anybody. I'm not going to repeat the type of abuse that Henry and Neve Spiller received, but they put it up on Twitter. This is nasty stuff, whether it's racing or whichever walk of society it is.
Yes, unfortunately, when it's part of the modern era, like in the new ways of communication, but it's present in every sport. I got some, and yes, I think I don't really see an end to it. We just have to deal with it, and yes, bit thick skin.
In this particular case, I think you'd have to be really thick-skinned, but the actual email address of the person who sent the abuse is on there. So there is potential for an investigation. Whether anybody actually, maybe there's just such a volume of this type of stuff, whether anyone is actually able to do that is perhaps debatable. New Stables Wolves. This is planning permission given by Wolverhampton City Council for 100 stables in 4 US-style barns at Wolverhampton. I think this sounds like a positive. This sounds, Kevin, like the possibility of somebody who maybe was you 5-10 years ago, who wouldn't have had that much support, could go and perhaps take a couple of boxes at Wolverhampton and train on the track.
Yes, definitely.
US style.
Great opportunity. Obviously, you have the track and you can run there, and you have no transport. And it's probably a much easier way to start training than having to buy or rent a big yard with quite high prices. So, no, great opportunity for young trainers to set up a bit cheaply.
And Emma, I can't see many negatives in this. ARC hasn't actually said what it plans to do, so the assumption is that this is a possibility. But clearly, if they're going to build 100 boxes, they've got to do something with them.
Yes, absolutely. And if it does give an opportunity for young trainers to start with a handful of horses, say, and get in that way, then all well and good, because property, as we know, in this country is extremely expensive to either rent or buy. So it's hopefully a great step on the ladder for young trainers to get involved. We're obviously not used to horses being trained on the track so much here. We're lucky we have the
So why is it? Well, it's an American thing, isn't it? I said it's US style. It's never really taken off in this country, has it?
No, I suppose, we're a much smaller country, and we've kind of, I suppose racing has developed in training centres, whether Midland or Newmarket or Lamb or wherever, where we're lucky we have great expanse of heathland to train on. America's completely different in its size and racing programme, but there's no reason you can't do that. And if it helps people to get going, why not?
And do you see that as a real positive in terms of people with dreams, the sort of dreams you once had to get going?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we got lucky that we got an opportunity at the right time, but not everybody will have that opportunity, and I think it could be a great way to start for some people.
So that's ARC have applied for that planning permission to build those boxes at Wolverhampton. That's been granted by the council in Wolverhampton. Now, Hayes and Cotter, Paddy Hayes, 15-month suspension, bringing racing into disrepute. That's to do with animal neglect. And also in Ireland, Kieran Cotter, €27,500 fine, a positive cobalt sample in an unannounced inspection. Both obviously negatives as far as racing is concerned, but the particular negative, that C word cobalt, that always, especially in this day and age, gets people really sort of thinking and excited.
Yes, and I mean, it seems that in this case it was a tiny amount, but still, it's a positive test, and it's negative news for racing. I understand this is going to be appealed by the trainer, as is in the Hayes case as well, which obviously drags these things out a little longer as well. So, yeah. I
think the point on Kieran Cotter as well, that the medicines record was miles out of date. Now, you're a trainer's wife. You know that's well, and you're a trainer, so you both know how important it is to keep these records up to date, and the authorities are going to hit you hard if you don't.
Absolutely, and this is what his big fine has been about. That is part of the deal you have with your training licence, that this record must be kept. Part of the rules of racing. So that's been an oversight on his part, clearly, and he's been hit hard for it.
And how complicated is it to actually keep a record? How difficult is it, physically difficult, to keep a record of all the medicines?
But it's not. I wouldn't say it's difficult. It just takes time, and it's a day. You have to work on it on a daily basis, and you just have to keep thinking about it and keep an accurate record. Our main issue in training is time, and we always feel that we never have enough time. But there's a lot of paperwork side of things would takes a lot of your day, and you just kind of focus on the training, and sometimes just like kind of forget about it. But it's just very important to keep it accurate and within the rules.
And inevitably, training horses isn't just about having horses out on the callops in the morning.
No,
is there the admin? But regardless of that, does the admin sometimes? Do you look at a pile of things and think, "Oh my goodness"?
But I'm lucky to have people around me that just do a lot of it. But and I kind of focus on training the horses. But I would say it's 50% training the horses and 50% of admin work.
And clearly that case and the mention of cobalt and of the medicines record, Jim Bolger and him saying that drugs were sport's #1 problem in Ireland. Again, that particular matter is back in sharp focus. Kieran Cotter due to have a runner, Matilda Picot, at Royal Ascot as well. So he's got a big fine, but he's training on. So item 4 is cashless society. Cash is king, they say at the races, and that there are too many credit cards, debit cards expected around and about. Do you feel cash is king, Emma, at the races, and that cards are a bit of a pity? The suggestion is it's putting some people off.
Well, and it probably is. I mean, I personally am very happy to use a debit card everywhere, but a lot of people aren't, and perhaps especially some older people that have more time in their hands to go racing. And part of the sort of charm of a day at the races is being in the betting ring and betting with the bookies, and being able to hand over your grubby fivers and hopefully getting a few grubby fivers back. So
I suppose the point, as far as the betting ring is concerned, because it is such a cash-orientated area, that if people are going to be using cards and perhaps being forced to use cards in certain places, they're actually going to not go to the betting ring at all, which is going to be bad news for the betting industry.
Well, yes, it will certainly change things. I mean, already I'm sure lots of people bet on their phones and what have you, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a very premature move to make racecourses cashless, if that's going to be the case.
Any thoughts on a cashless society and not being able to use cards in certain places? Cash in certain places.
Yes, yes. I mean, you always have like the idea of the old-fashioned way of betting. You put your money on and you get some money back, and after you just have a couple of drinks with the money you made, and it's kind of the culture of racing, and it would be sad to see it go.
I just love the thought of the old, you're betting with their money. It makes me sound like some terrible punter, which I am a terrible punter, but not a massive one. But I think it's possibly a bit of a pity but the modern world is about less cash, isn't it? If you go to the supermarket or you go to the high street or you go to some Sunday attraction, there are less and less cash flying around.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think we should be doing anything to put off people coming racing.
No, well, that is clearly the case, and the whole or potentially putting people off. Basically, you want to make certain that everything possible, that's the much of the thinking here, everything possible done is to bring people in. We're not going to talk about crowd levels this week. There will be many further opportunities on Lux on Sunday in the future to consider the whole crowd thing. But it was good to hear the RTV team at York yesterday commenting on the real buzz around the place at Haydock yesterday as well. Similar sentiments, and also from Goodwood as well. So, maybe it was a little bit of a blip, but we'll have to wait and see when the various crowd figures all come out. As we go on to number 4, Dettori Derby. Frankie Dettori has won the Derby twice. The last couple of years he hasn't won the Derby, but he's been in the news particularly beforehand because he's replaced other riders on certain horses, and he's doing it again. He's going to ride Piz Badil. Who is it? It's Gavin Ryan has been jocked off in favour of Frankie Dettori. Jocking off. Have you ever jocked anyone off?
Yes, and yes,
you have.
Yes, I've already did.
Dan Muscat, funnly enough, is our next guest, who's one of your jockeys who's about to come in the studio. So please don't go and jock him off live on air.
No, it's always a very difficult call. You want the best jockey on your horse, but at the same time, you want someone who knows your horse. It's a very difficult question, I suppose. Frankie won some Group 1s for the Niarchos family. I remember Alpine Star winning at Royal Ascot a couple of years ago. It's a very difficult call. It just, yeah.
Oh, well, and the irony, of course, is that other riders have been jocked off for Frankie the last couple of years. Tom Marquand a couple of years ago on English King, and then the winner last year, Adam Kirby, had been jocked off John Leaper for Frankie. So it doesn't always work out. Sometimes there's a twist in the whole story.
No, indeed. I mean, Tom was second 2 years ago, and obviously Adam Kirby went on to win.
On Nadia, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately it comes down to what the owner wants for their horse, and they want Frankie. And equally, sort of bigger, it's, of course, deeply disappointing for Gavin Ryan. He's done nothing wrong on this horse. But for the Derby itself, we're at the stage now where Frankie is Mr. Racing. You can't have the Derby, especially in Platinum Jubilee year, when we hope the race will get perhaps some more, even greater coverage because the Queen will be there. To me, you can't have a Derby without Frankie. Whether he wins or not, he's got to be in it.
I think it's his 27th mount in the race. First one, 1992. Remember the name?
Oh.
Pollencad. We were talking about it a little bit earlier on. Sorry, that was very unfair of me to put you on the spot like that. I do apologise. I was just showing off the fact that I looked it up on Friday. As we go on to Nashwa Oaks, so you call Dettori Mr. Racing. A candidate for Ms. Racing, if you like, is Holly Doyle, and it looks as though she's going to have a big ride in the Oaks on Nashwa that so impressed at Newbury the other day.
She certainly did, didn't she? She's a very exciting filly for Imad Al-Sagar's Blue Diamond Stud, homebred for them. And ironically, actually, Frankie, 15 years ago, Imad Al-Sagar won the Derby with Authorised, Frankie's first Derby winner. Hopefully he won't be jockeying off Holly, but Holly is the retained jockey for Blue Diamond Stud, and that's been a fantastic arrangement for both parties. And Nashwa, I'm really glad they've made the decision to run her in the Oaks. The Oaks is the Oaks.
As opposed to the French Oaks, wasn't it? That was the alternative, Prix de Diane.
Maybe it remains to be seen whether she's better at 10 or 12 furlongs. I think 12 furlongs is within her scope, and she has a great turn of foot as well. To me, she has everything that you'd want to see in a potential Oaks filly. I'm glad she's taking her chance. There's only one Oaks, and I'm glad she's going. And the Gosden's going to have Emily Upjohn as well. If I could wave a magic wand and give you one of these horses for the Oaks, what would you be going for? I would, if I was a rider, I would probably pick Emily Upjohn, but Nashwa has done very, very well. Holly is the up-and-coming jockey at the moment, and she's riding incredibly well this year. I mean, she's been for a couple of years now, and she deserves a chance, definitely. And imagine at this Epsom festival that's going to have a lot of coverage because of being part of the Platinum celebrations, if a female jockey was to win a British Classic, and more success for British riders at the very high, for female riders at the very highest level, how good would that be, publicity-wise? Oh, it would be super. I mean, and she's just a wonderful ambassador for racing. And she absolutely deserves to have her chance at the highest level every year.
One of my favourite words in commentary is splendid, and sometimes the word splendid is overused, but the commentator, I think it was David Fitzgerald at Newbury, the day that Nashwa won, said she'd won in splendid fashion, and it was such a good description. She did win that in splendid style and is going splendidly now on towards the Oaks on the 3rd of June on Friday week. So Stradivarius. Emma, you particularly wanted Stradivarius in the talking points today. You haven't got an exclusive from Newmarket about him, have you? So what do you? Here's your soapbox. Fire away.
Oh, I am a bit of a bore on my Stradivarius.
You're a bore on
soapbox.
nothing.
But look, I love this horse, and I mean, who doesn't love this horse? He's, we talk about dwindling numbers at the races. He's a horse that brings people to the races.
Puts bums on seats.
We're not going to have him forever. This, I would imagine, is going to be his last season, and we're lucky to still have him around. But the rather depressing thing for me is, to me, he's the type of horse that everyone would want to own if you're an owner, and would be extremely proud to have bred if you're a breeder. And already the talk is, oh, well, he's going to be a National Hunt Stallion. I find it terribly sad that there isn't already a strong offer from a leading flat stud to stand this horse. He's impeccably bred. He's versatile. Yes, of course, he's a stayer, and he can stay extreme distances, but he
won over 1.25 miles at Beverley, I think.
Yeah, he did. He won as a 2-year-old. He wasn't a backward horse. These top stayers are not slow horses. They have to have a turn of foot, and we've seen him turn it on again and again. He's got it all. He's got the mental capability of having raced this many seasons as an entire. He's clearly a very sound horse, a terrific ambassador for racing, and I think he's a stallion that people should be getting behind and not be instantly dismissing the second he's off the track.
So the campaign starts here.
It started several years ago from me, but
it's got up a couple of notches.
I'll be ramping it up, absolutely.
Yeah, Stradivarius. Would you be happy to have a flat horse by Stradivarius when after all the?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we tend to go speed on speed, but we need them great stayers, and as Emma says, he's a grand ambassador for racing, and I mean, who wouldn't want to own Strad and yes, it was Stradivarius. So, yeah.
More than £3 million won, all those races won as well by Stradivarius. Was it 20 from 33 or something like that? The Gold Cup for a third time, and really looking forward to him having another go at the Gold Cup at Royal Ascot in a couple of weeks' time. So that's Stradivarius. Well, I wanted it. You wanted Strad. I wanted Steve Cawthon. It is. He's not riding in the Derby, but he's going to be on TV. He's going to be expounding his wisdom, his experience of Ascot, and I think great to see you, Steve.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. When I read that story, I just thought, well, this is fantastic. I mean, he's an icon, of course, and I think maybe it's our age, but you sort of think, gosh, how fantastic.
I'm very flattered that you're putting me in the same bracket.
We're just there or thereabouts. I'm not putting Kevin in our bracket.
No, he's a long way below.
Yeah, but I mean, his record at Epsom is extraordinary. I think the only jockey to have won the Derby and the Kentucky Derby, on a Triple Crown, of course, on Affirmed, and the Phillies Triple Crown on Oh So Sharp. So he'll bring so much to a broadcast as regards his own unique experiences on both sides of the Atlantic, and he's just an all-round good egg, isn't he?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that he's 62 years old now, Steve. In my mind, Steve Cawthon is forever 30, whatever he was, winning on slip anchor and reference points. And I must say that if you haven't ever seen those races, for so many different reasons, the size of the crowd, but the way the races panned out in the 1980s, get on to whatever your platform is and try and find the slip anchor and reference point derbies won by Steve Cawthon. They're great occasions. Are you too young to be a Steve Cawthon fan?
I mean, yes.
How old are you? 31?
Yes, I'm about to turn 31. But he brought a new way of riding for the jockeys, and he still has an influence now on the way the jockeys are riding in modern era.
I think for people of certainly my generation, and I've now been very rude to Emma and suggested she's the same generation, but Steve Cawthon had the same type of iconic status that Frankie Dettori has to your type of generation. And Steve Cawthon, he'd won the US Triple Crown. and he came over here, and I think he made his debut at Salisbury, didn't he? I think he was riding at Salisbury, and the injury, Robert Sangster had got him to come over, and he was going to ride for Henry Cecil, and he was the Kentucky kid, and there was so much excitement about it, and he went to sort of I'm not sure the weather was great, but there was a big crowd there, and he never looked back. And champion jockey as well. What was he? 3-time champion jockey. He used to have great duels with Pat Eddery. Anyway, that's enough from the Steve Cawthon Appreciation Society, but he will be part of ITV's coverage at Epsom this year. That is the end of the talking points. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed them.